In the world of high-stakes poker, players often spend years grinding cash games and small tournaments before they even sniff a major title. They study charts, master ranges, and harden their nerves against endless swings. But in 2005, one kid skipped the waiting line. Nick Schulman, a 21-year-old from New York City, walked into the World Poker Tour event at Foxwoods as a relatively unknown name. A raw online grinder with talent, nerves, and a nickname that would soon become legend, The Takeover. By the time the final hand was dealt, Schulman had done more than win the title. He had outplayed, outbluffed, and outlasted some of poker's most respected names, becoming the youngest LUPT champion in history and pocketing $2.1 million. It wasn't just a win. It was a warning shot to the entire poker world.
Well, what he's thinking is Lyle's short stack. He probably has him beat. He's kind of a desperado at this point, but the quick call by Nick Schulman.
And he's wondering, did he call because he has a big hand, hoping more players enter the pot? Or is he just calling thinking Lyle's a desperado?
Well, we know he would be
Thanks.
Mattress King, contemplating this monumental decision right now. Wired pair of tens. Will he go for it? No, he does not.
How much queens? I'll put you
Allen
on
quickly
queens.
going out.
A $10,000 field, 800 dreams, one kid who meant business. Foxwoods 2005 wasn't just another tournament. It attracted nearly 800 entrants, each paying a hefty $10,000 buy-in, chasing not only the money but a spot in poker history. Among the field were grizzled veterans, high-stakes crushers, and tournament regulars. And among them, quietly but confidently, was Nick Schulman. Nobody expected the skinny kid from the online world to dominate, but that's exactly what he did. By the time the final table was set, Schulman had already impressed. But what followed in that televised final would cement his place as a future great. The first key hand was symbolic. Schulman found himself up against Lyle Berman, a Hall of Famer, a three-time WSOP bracelet winner, and one of the most respected names in poker. Berman, low on chips, shoved with a J. Schulman looked down at AK, a dominant hand, and called immediately. The board offered no miracles. Berman was eliminated. A legend was sent to the rail by the kid. It wasn't just a double-up. It was a declaration. Schulman was here to take over, check-raising the shark. Shortly after, Nick faced off against Alan Cunningham, a methodical, highly disciplined player and feared tactician. Cunningham raised with K10. Nick, holding G3, saw a flop of G32, top two pair. Rather than lead, Schulman checked. Cunningham took the bait, fired a continuation bet, and Nick check-raised big to $400,000. The move was both technical and psychological. He knew Cunningham had air, or a worse hand, and forced him out. It wasn't just about building chips, it was about control. Poker isn't about the cards, it's about leverage, and Schulman was seizing it.
You ask, why didn't he lead out and bet when he hit the two jacks? That's why. You check to a guy who raised before the flop if he's an aggressive player. He's going to bet. You get the check raise in. You get more value. You earn more by doing that. That's what the kid did there. Nice poker by Nick Schulman.
Kings versus desperation. The next confrontation was a dagger. Schulman picked up KK, an elite hand. Cunningham, now short-stacked, shoved with J10, a dominated spot. The board ran a 655. No help for Cunningham. Another top-tier player down. Another $2 million added to Schulman's stack. He wasn't just winning, he was dismantling poker royalty.
He picks up $483,000 for his fourth place finish. Makes another final table on the World Poker Tour, but unfortunately for Allen, he has yet to capture a WPT title.
That makes me not want to do it.
What a sport. Alan Cunningham chatting it up.
You heard him telling Bill Gaze there, I just couldn't wait anymore. This guy's mowing us down here.
Big applause as he walks away.
Perfect. Let's continue with the next phase of Nick Schulman's epic performance at the 2005 LUPT World Poker Finals. His psychological warfare against Bill Gaze's and the climactic heads-up duel. As the field shrank, Nick Schulman found himself locked in an extended and unforgettable skirmish with Bill Gazes, a seasoned tournament professional known for his composure and experience under pressure. But none of that would spare him from the storm Schulman was about to unleash. Bill picked up AK, one of the best starting hands in the game. But instead of raising, he elected to just call the big blind, a subtle play that would come back to haunt him. The flop came Q55, missing both players entirely. Nick, holding absolute air minus 96, wasn't discouraged. He fired a bold $60,000 into the pot. Bill called. The turn brought the 9, pairing Schulman's 9. The young pro checked this time, showing restraint. Bill checked behind. Then came the river, the 3, another blank. And now, with the pot still up for grabs, Schulman went for blood. He tossed out a $90,000 value bet, not because he thought he'd get called by worse, but because he knew the move would force Bill into a difficult decision. Bill thought, and thought, and thought, and folded. He had no idea he'd been bluffed off the better hand. Schulman calmly dragged in the pot, stacking chips without fanfare. The rail cheered. The commentators buzzed. Schulman had just executed a perfect reverse bluff with second pair against one of poker's most experienced grinders. But he wasn't done. Winning with queen high. In the very next hand, Schulman picked up Q3, a speculative hand at best. Still, true to form, he raised to $150,000. Bill Gazes looked down at a 9, a significantly stronger hand, and made the call. The flop came dry, neither player improving. But Schulman, with nothing but queen high, fired a $250,000 bet into the pot. Once again, Bill found himself in a bind. He had ace high, the best hand, but the pressure, the momentum, the weight of Schulman's relentless aggression was too much. He folded. 2 hands in a row, Gazes had the better cards. Twice he folded. Twice, Schulman pulled the pot. Poker isn't won by who gets the best hands. It's won by who plays them best, and Schulman was putting on a clinic. Turning the screw with second pair. Not content to simply outmaneuver Gazes with bluffs, Schulman showed he could do damage with real hands too. On another pivotal hand, Gazes raised with KQ, and Schulman called with 85. Not exactly a premium holding. The flop came 1,052, giving Schulman second pair. Gazes checked. Schulman bet $120,000. Again, it looked like a bluff. Again, Bill gave it up. This wasn't just a yeeter. This was poker poetry. Schulman was in total command of pace, pressure, and perception. He wasn't just playing better. He was controlling the entire table. Eventually, Bill's patience and chips ran thin. In a last-ditch effort, he shoved all in with K8. Schulman looked down at AQ and snap-called. The board ran out clean. Bill Gazes, one of the tournament's most feared pros, was eliminated in third place, outplayed and outmaneuvered by the youngest man at the table. Nick Schulman was now heads up for the title, and the rail could already feel it. This wasn't just a tournament, it was a coronation.
Here is the flop.
Well, the flop comes ace-jack 4. Nick has tapped a pair of aces.
Yes, he has.
Everything okay, Tony?
That means Bill Gazes must catch 2 runners to win this pot. Whether there's 2 running clubs, he'll make a flush, 2 running cards to make a straight, or 2 running cards of a king or an 8.
Oh, a hurtful flop there for Bill Gazes. He is in big trouble.
And here comes the turn card. He's going to have some help just to have a draw to stay alive.
And it's
He doesn't get it. The 5 of hearts comes off. That's going to do it for Bill Gazes.
Do it right. Take your time.
And Vince, who would have ever thought, with 5 players left, that the experience of Lyle Berman, Alan Cunningham, and Bill Gazes would go out into 5, 4, and 3 positions?
Well, experience doesn't mean quite as much anymore. In the poker world, anything can happen, and we're witnessing it right now.
Nick Schulman high-fiving his fans. They are excited, and why not? They're both millionaires. One's going to become a multimillionaire.
Schulman versus Tony LeCastro. The final duel was set, Nick Schulman versus Tony L.C. LeCastro. One was a rising prodigy, the other, an experienced amateur with a solid run. They were now battling for a $2.1 million payday and a permanent place in poker's elite. At first, the action was slow. Neither player wanted to make the first big mistake. Small pots, folded flops, cautious raises. But then came hand 4, and everything changed. Nick limped in with 96. Tony checked his option with 82. The flop came. A cade. Tony hit bottom pair. Nick flopped a flush draw. Tony checked. Nick bet $120,000. Then, shockingly, Tony check-raised to $300,000. It was a bold move, but Schulman didn't budge. He called the turn 5. Flush. Nick had completed the draw. Tony, meanwhile, had improved to 2 pair, but it was a trap. A beautiful, brutal poker trap. Tony shoved all in. Nick called in a flash. All Tony could do was watch as his 2 pairs sat drawing dead to a boat. The river came blank. It was over.
Well, $780,000 in the pot right now.
Big pot developing. Here's the turn card, and look at this.
Oh.
Nick has hit the flush, but Tony's hit 2 pair, Mike.
This is an unbelievable card right here.
It's all in time.
Well, Tony went all in. He quickly got called by Nick.
He got out.
It's 2 pair versus a flush.
Has a flush.
Yeah.
What a card on the turn. It's the only card in the deck that could help both players.
Tony just did not believe this guy was 4 flushing or that he had a higher pair, and he needs some luck right now.
Good luck. Good luck to you.
He sure does. He must catch an 8 or a deuce. He's got to make a full house if he wants to stay alive in this tournament.
The Mattress King has walked into it. He needs extreme luck on the river.
He's got the flush.
Well, Vince, here's a case where you wonder if all-in Tony would have gone all in on his re-raise on the flop if indeed Nick could have stood it with a 9-eye flush draw. Nick Schulman just trying to dodge an 8 or a deuce here and become a multi-millionaire and a WPT champion. Let's see if he can do it.
A champion is born. Nick Schulman, at just 21 years old, became the youngest WPT champion in history, taking home $2.1 million and announcing to the poker world, the takeover is real. He didn't back it a victory. He seized it, eliminating legends, outbluffing veterans, value betting light, folding when it counted, calling when it mattered. It was more than just winning a title. It was the birth of a career. And while Schulman would go on to win bracelets, commentator gigs, and the respect of his peers, nothing would quite match the ferocity and brilliance of that 2005 run.
It's a 5.
It's a 5 and
He's
fold.
done it!
Nick Schulman, at 21 years young, has captured the World Poker Finals Championship.
Final thoughts. Nick Schulman's victory at the 2005 WPT World Poker Finals wasn't just a breakthrough. It was a benchmark. It marked the moment the poker world had to take online kids seriously, not as loose cannons or one-hit wonders, but as strategic assassins capable of dethroning even the most seasoned live professionals. At just 21, Schulman played with the composure of someone twice his age. He didn't rely on hot cards or lucky flops. He created pressure, manipulated perception, and used every inch of the table to his advantage. When opponents had better hands, he made them fold. When he had the worst hand, he found ways to win. When he had the best of it, he extracted maximum value. But perhaps most impressive was the balance in his game. He knew when to check raise, when to float with air, and when to simply fold and wait. He played without fear, but never without thought. That maturity, combined with raw instinct and relentless pressure, made him merely untouchable. His win represented a shift in poker's landscape, the bridge between the old guard and the internet generation. It was proof that the game was evolving, and that new minds with fresh approaches could not only compete but dominate. And for Schulman, this was just the beginning. Over the next 2 decades, he would go on to become one of the game's most respected figures, winning multiple WSOP bracelets, becoming a fan-favorite commentator, and earning praise not just for his skill, but for his insight, humility, and sharp intellect. But no matter how many titles he adds to his resume, no moment will ever quite capture the magic and message of that 2005 victory. The kid came to take over, and he did,